Chokpi hokole hoyanin. Hoslid alaga di dondo. Moof, hozifoga ozagi doa di dondo. Dihet gin hozifka dat ozagi godoa di dondo aishin. Dijadi dat, dimasko gagi dat hozifoga ozagi doa di dondo. This battle took place about around 211 years ago. So put your minds and vision what took place at the time of the battle. Pomistagi imiditagagit nita ostadigatustres hadi hosia lagi gomongin mitagagit. Buidagio hombidahaya uwagat mitagagit. And you hosle lagahandos gezagit mididagak to adidundo. Maybe about 4 days before the battle actually happened, our people got ready, as we do at our ceremonial grounds today. We set a date, we start getting ready for that date so that we can prepare to do our ceremonies at that certain time. So you can imagine the people here were getting ready because they knew a battle was getting ready to start here. So they started getting ready, started taking medicine. Medyo lako hanyue abogi atat imolechiko hanyue folagadi ya isti folagadi imolechiko daidundo. The grounds that we have back home, we can never compare to what we had here. Yikti forhoi duadidundo. There were strong people back in the day when we were here. So we can never compare ourselves to our old people, but yet we can carry on as much as we can. The Mikos, they overseen the people. The Dastanagi, the war chief, they overseen conflict and things that took place with the people here, such as war. The Miko would tell the men, women, and children to get ready because battle is coming. Mitaga, gahozi duadidundo. It's whatever it is that you have to do to get ready. Mitagit. Hada gese sandunsidona. Horsli da lakna, jiski de salaki goedi. Jibawo, salaki goedi. Jizursit. Chimbalsi unwaga mo, this yestigo wedi, most ways immediatakan duaxis magogi duadidundo. Be prepared because your uncle may not come back, your brother may not come back, your father, your warriors may not come back. So as women and children, be prepared because we are going to go to a battle. I feel that was told to our elders and our women and children that stayed back as our warriors come to play or come to fight. When we got ready for war, they talked to us. And when they talk to us, they tell us that we're going to talk the hard words, kind of like encouragement words. They would say, Yaigan lasti badagat, amazulagidadi shahotski badi, magidondo. Hada, they said, Jidaklat gidonoa idosha yongot, chimistagit ijibagidondos magagit. Jarbalat kadat hagahani dundo, jarbalat kat hakto no mat, yaigan lasti badaga shani hetskadundos mahogi duadidundo. That's what they tell us today. That's what they told them yesterday when they fought here. What they were saying is that we are part of this ground. Our elders fell. And when you fall, don't worry about it because that's the furthest you're going to fall. Don't get up and dust yourself off because your ancestors are on you. When blood is shed from you and it goes to the ground, don't worry about it. It beautifies, puts color into this ground. So they were pumping up our people by telling them stories like that. So today, when we get ready to go play ball, they tell us those same things. That don't worry about it because the furthest place you're going to fall is back to the ground where you come from. We talk about this war paint and stuff, you know. People don't know, but when I say that our people studied nature, studied life and everything in order to exist, the furthest that we fall is back to the ground to where we come from. If you look at a buffalo, when he gets ready to fight another buffalo, he will scrape that ground up and he will stick his face in that ground and he'll rub both sides of his face. He just put his war paint on his face. The reason he did that is because the furthest he's going to fall is back to the ground to where he come from. So our people were encouraged by these words so that they can come here to fight because they knew that they're already there. They're already with their mother. They're already with the earth. That's why they were strong and willing to fight. The soldiers, they had about 3,000 plus soldiers. And we had 800 that my understanding that was killed. So we were greatly outnumbered 3-1 in this battle. But we fought because of the things that our elders and our war chiefs told us about falling back to the ground to where we come from. And that's what they did here that day. We were not fighting for vengeance. Pomaida asakan tibo duya di dondo. Pomistalgi. Dui abokhaniat. Dui hijagit lekhaniat masakan ab tibo duya di dondo. We did not fight for land. We fought for the existence of the Muskogee people. We fought for the existence of who we are. We did not fight for vengeance or anything like that. We did not fight for money. They paid the military, the army money so that they could fight, but we did not fight for money. We fought for our existence. We fought that I could be Nogosalgi. We fought so that you could be Chualgi, that you could be Hodalgalgi, Itzazwalgi. We fought so that you could keep your clan. Chimidalwa, Nuyaga, Hilabi, Oziabova. We fought so that that could exist. We fought so that we could be here today. Shabakli Munkdo, we're still standing here today. We're still strong today. Mongat not, if they did not fight for us, we would not be here today. But because of what they did, we are here today. I often wondered whether it was a battle or if it was a massacre. So when I say, was it a massacre, I think about a few years ago when I came here, there was a Miko, and he came here. He didn't want to come, but I talked him into it. He come here, and another Miko and a Hiniha, they showed up here. We walked around, and I seen that Miko looking at this big tree. I asked him, I said, what are you thinking about? So when this Miko was looking at this tree, when I asked him what he was thinking about, he said that this old Miko told me that, he said, I wonder how big this tree was when that war was going on. I wonder if this is the same tree that they grabbed them little boys and they slammed their head against it and threw them in the river. I wonder if this is that same tree. And he said that the soldiers were here to annihilate the existence of the Muskogee people. That's why they were killing the little boys. They would tie them up with a rope, 3, 4, 5 of them, and they would throw them all in the river because they wanted to save their bullets. The women that were running hide to seek shelter, they were shooting them as they were in the river, trying to get away. What these little kids had to do with this war, I don't know. But there's a difference between a war and a massacre. So that was a story that was told to him, that was handed down to him. So he often told me, he said probably about 4, maybe 5 Mikos ago, he was here. His people was here. I often wondered how many people knew these stories. I know that there's a lot of tragic things that happened during war. I understand that. But a lot of people don't know what happened to our people here at Horseshoe Bend. We're not here to harm or hurt anybody. I'm just here to tell you what took place at that time. Not only did we lose 800 warriors, men, women, and children, we lost our homeland of 22 million acres. When our people were forced to go back to the West, this elderly gentleman come to my house a long time ago, years back, and he said, I don't know why, but I had to come here and tell you this story, so I'll let you hear this story. He said that his great-grandpa told him that when he was walking on the Trail of Tears, he would look over here and he would see a soldier with a knife on the end of his gun. When he looked over here, he said he saw a soldier with a knife on the end of his gun. He said, we couldn't turn this way, we couldn't go this way, we had to keep on marching. He told me that when he got here as a little boy, he said there was no more kids to play with. He said they were all gone. He was the only child left. So this is a story that was handed down. It's a story that you're probably not going to find in a book anywhere. But he was telling me that story. So our people struggled on the way. We've got a lot of history of our walk. Even today, I remember when I was a little kid, we'd sit at the table and we would talk and we would laugh. When it was time to eat, our father would say, which means hurry up and eat, they might run you off. I never understood what that meant. Finally, he told me, he said when war was coming here, he said people were laughing and joking. They didn't know that some of this excitement was going to happen. So they would sit at the table and talk about their day. The soldiers would bust in the door and flip the table over and tell them to start marching. So that took place then. To be afraid of it was taking place in my home in the 70s and 80s. We talk about last handshake when we die, when we die and we have a funeral and we dig a grave, and they said this is customary with our people, it's the last handshake. So they would hand over a shovel of dirt, you grab it and you throw it on that grave. It's considered a last handshake. That come from here to Oklahoma, in between here, that's where it started. When our people died on that march, the Miko, he would say, lay him over there, put the blanket on top of him. There's enough of us, grab some dirt and put it on him. That's where that handshake come from. But yet we do that today. So our history, unknowingly, some of the things that we do back home started here, started on the trail. So those people, their names, their history was done here, was used here 211 years ago. So we'll still do exist. We may have lost that battle, but because the existence of Creek Nation and the things that they do and the travels that we do and the names that we have won that war.
We come here to commemorate, and just to be here and to hear some of the stories, to hear the struggles, the sacrifices that happened to our people. But yet, here we are, here we stand, and here we still moving forward. It's a hard time, you know, and you try not to get emotional, but when you picture babies being slammed against trees, our families being murdered, people trying to remove you from civilization for unnecessary or selfishness wants. But again, here we are. We're still Muskogee, and we're still strong, and we're only getting stronger. As in numbers and we come together, it's who we are.
Being able to tell our stories and commemorate what happened here among Muskogee people is critically important. And we're here today for a commemoration, not a celebration. And it's important to think about what that word commemorate means. It means together, commemorate, to remember. Remember what happened here today, not just because we honor our ancestors, which we do. We honor the bravery and the keeping of the eternal ceremonial fire that their bravery stood for, that allows us to flourish today. But we honor the past to also think about generations to come. So as we gather today to commemorate, let's think both in terms of the past and the future. We understand as we honor our ancestors today, they are still with us. We understand that the spirit world is among us at all times. So when we talk about commemoration and honoring the past, we're also talking about communing, about speaking with our ancestors who are still here today, who are listening to us. And through your spirit, through coming despite a tornado, that shows that that ceremonial fire will burn for futures to come. There has been a historic tension between telling the story of truth and the story of myth. And that myth helps comfort folks who would like to say that the desecration that happened here at Horseshoe Bend was necessary to build a more perfect union. The desecration of bodies, of the cutting off noses to mark the number of dead and the number of killed. The desecration that involved taking strips of human flesh and creating bridle reins to put on horses as trophies was necessary to build a better nation. When we know through commemoration rather than desecration, this land represented the lands of a people whose civilization went back thousands of years, that history helps build a true future for all, both native and non-native alike. You cannot tell the future without properly commemorating the past. And that is what we are here today to do. Yes, there is deep, deep pain involved, and healing is an incredibly important part of this process, both for ourselves as well as our partners. But when we think of the stories untold of our ancestors who died here to preserve what we have today, we aren't just healing, we're also remembering the importance of telling those stories. So as we commemorate, let us think about the stories that are often mistold, retold and mistold again, and how we need to correct those stories. And let us also think of the stories untold that we need to tell for those who are not allowed to tell them today. Let us also think about the stories yet to be told, those of our babies and ancestors to come, and how as we tell those stories, what sacrifices were made here today are part of a circle that will bring us to honor what it means to truly be human, which is what our ancestors fought for.
There's a high probability this is the first time that someone from the Ho'olubi has come back to this area. But since this battle here, our tribal town has been very small. And the tendency is to think less of something that is smaller. But that's not how we do things as Muskogee people. In our way of life, when we look at the things that we go through, a battle, an obstacle, a challenge, we are told to give everything that we have. And we knew that we might go on to the spirit world after that battle. And it was something that was okay because we were not afraid of that. And we didn't know what tomorrow may hold. But in the way we understand things, just because we move on into that spirit world doesn't mean that life is over for us. We continue on to persevere in all of this natural world, in all of the cosmos, and we continue on. Even to this day, when centuries later we come back and say Ho'olubi and other tribal towns are still here. In this year of 2025, saying we are rebuilding our people. We are still carrying our fires. We still sing these songs that were constructed in the very environment that you come from, that we walk on every day. We still represent the clans that were birthed from this earth mother right in this territory. Even I'm humbled every time I come through here, as the original Ho'olubi site is just northeast or northwest of here. I pay honor to them. And I thank you for this moment in time because it's always going to be sacred. We've only been removed and dispossessed into Oklahoma for the blink of an eye. Never forget that. The blink of an eye. that our ancestors were here millennia after millennia after millennia, thriving. My hope is that our children will remember these things. It's theirs. And even that there was a prophecy that says one day they'll come up and ask us, what did you do to protect our way of life? To share the story of how rich our history is, how deep our roots go. And today I'm thankful that we can still come here and be who we are for our children, for our people.
The story I was told was there was a leader, his name was Miko, and he said, we're getting ready for this battle here. He tried to rally the Dusty-Nuggies. He tried to rally them to get going. He said, he told them to give up your life to save your birthright. You think about that. Give up your life to save your birthright. Because that's who we are. Those things, we carry a lot with us.
Muskogee Nation, when they come here, there is no thing to regard other than the space, and you wonder. And many people who are from here don't even know that our Muskogee Nation is still powerful and vibrant and alive. And so what we want to do is give a place to land and symbols to regard. And it shows that there was a major turn that happened here for our nation. Our nation took a turn and has continued forward. And that life is still there. And we're here still breathing. We still love the ground. The water still flows. We have that wind in our lungs. And so we get to move forward in this good way. And when other people come to this space, we want this monument to let people know that we are still strong. And I think these things can represent our people in a good way, so that when any other member of the nation comes here in the future, they know that there are two sides of this story. And yes, there was a fence. And yes, our people came out from beyond that fence. And so we want to talk about that in metal and stone and symbols. But it really represents the people that are made of flesh and blood. So you keep your thoughts and prayers as we gather the resources to put this into the ground. We want to do it in a respectful way because of the sacrifices made here.
As I stood here and looked over and as I thought of our warriors standing down there, knowing they were outnumbered, but never gave up, never knew. Today we still have that spirit. We're here, always have been, and always will be. So often we Native Americans have been asked, why do you serve the very country that tried to annihilate you, that tried to exterminate us? Our answer is, this is our country. Always has been, always will be. We serve to protect our families, our elders, our culture, and our nations. We can trace our roots more than 30,000 years on land that is now the United States. We have fought for this land that our ancestors have inhabited for centuries because we love and honor our homeland.
When you come back here, you just get a different feeling, and you do. You get either be mad or sad or what's happened, because those are our people. These are one of the things me and Raylene try to teach the history of where we originally came from. The Horseshoe Bend was the last time we had a battle. You just get a lot of mixed emotions, what happened. You got to remember, over 800 died. You have to remember, just one of them survived and made it to Oklahoma, to where one of y'all are here today. You know, as you're sitting there looking, just staring out there, you can kind of vision all the warriors out there getting ready for battle. The warriors knew either they're going to make it or they're not. But to them, it didn't matter. They didn't do it for the money. They did it to survive and to protect our people. Just knowing that just one of my ancestors made it, that survived. And that's the reason why we're here today. Just telling the true history of who Muskogee people are. And if you look out here, those are the very first veterans, the true warriors who fought. And we're not here to celebrate, we're here to commemorate all the warriors that fought for us. Times over 23,000 walked the Trail of Tears to Oklahoma. Just a little bit over 18,000 made it. But today we're standing strong, over 100,000, and we're always going to stand strong.
Special note of gratitude to the National Park Service, whose commitment to telling the story of Horseshoe Bend rings clear through their actions, working through the night to make sure that we could have this gathering today, despite a tornado. Just many, many thanks to the National Park Service.
The ground still speaks, right? You can still, if you listen, if you look at it, if you read it, you can see the history. You can see what it's been through. And as Bonnie was saying, you know, listening to the ground, I mean, we heard the ground speak today, right? We heard people from the ground speak, from the 60 Dawas that were here, from the Yaga. But I was looking out on the battlefield, and I was thinking about when we got here Sunday after the tornado, how it was kind of like this. It was a really pretty day. But I think about what, you know, as we walked the battlefield and just all the damage we saw, think about what it would have been like to be here on March 28th, the morning after, and what it would have been like to have been on this ground. And that's a hard thing to think about. But I think about how long it took to get the nation back, to be invited back, to get the grounds back, to tell their story. You know, we're 211 years now. It was close to the 200th anniversary before the nation was invited back to be a part of this, I believe, in a meaningful way. It's meaningful for Este Muskogee to be here, to heal, to be here themselves. And that's different for everyone, and it'll take a long time. I think the two hardest things I hear is when I hear you all say thank you for letting us be here. This is your home. But it is an honor to be here when you are here, to just be on this ground, to hear the language, to hear what you have to share with us. So I think I speak for all the staff that it is an incredible honor to be here with you and to have you here.
Over 200 years ago, you can see why that our elders fought so hard to keep this land. They thought that they did away with the Muskogee people. They thought they did away with everything that we had. They thought they did away with our way of life here. They thought it ended here. But as you heard the stories today, as you heard everybody talk, they didn't extinguish our fires. They didn't extinguish our way of life. We are still here because of these warriors. Those are the things that keeps us going. We don't practice our religion. We live it. Underneath the sun. This is who we are. This is where we were born. So we keep that alive. Nuyaga, Idalwa, Upfatski, Idalwa, Ufala, Idalwa, Ilabi, Idalwa, Salagawa,
idalwa, ukjai idalwa.